Michelle. Anna Lobo-Martins from ARC International. And finally, Omar Romero from Minor Hotels. Please join me on stage. Thank you. Right, I'll sort of kick off the questions, and please introduce yourselves as you sort of start to answer this question. But what does sustainable luxury mean to you?
Hi, Richard. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I look after Habitat's business development globally, but I also have a role of EVP for Ennismore in KSA across all brands. And I am in a great position to look at what's happening in the sustainability and the luxury space in that market. So to answer your question, I think you might frame it in a way that luxury has no choice but being sustainable. So I like the approach, should we ask whether they are mutually exclusive or not. I think they are absolutely compatible, and I'm sure we will have the opportunity to elaborate more on that sustainability has to be a foundation, but we would like to express that experience has to be first, storytelling, and all of that. So it's sustainability plus.
Wonderful. Anna, would you like to add to that?
Yes, so my name is Anna Martins. I'm head of interior design for ARC International Design Consultants. We're a European-based company that has worked for the last 10 years here in Saudi, so we have a lot of experience here. And in terms of your question, Richard, I mean, luxury today is really about authenticity, that Hicham mentioned. It's about personalization, and it's about cultural depth. So I think more and more guests who are looking for a luxury experience look for something that, as I mentioned, is authentic, is linked to the culture of the place, and therefore the sustainability concern goes direct with that, because sustainability is also about respecting the local values. It's about treating every project in the nature of where it exists, in the location of where it exists, and making the most out of that. So I firmly believe they go hand in hand. Of course, you can be, eco-compliant, or you can be, you can show off the sustainable aspect. These are still two ways of doing it, but I think it's always an underlayer that is more and more present in hospitality and luxury.
Thank you. And last, Omar, would you care to pick up the question?
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. My name is Omar Romero. I'm the Global Chief Development Officer for Minor International, Minor Hotels. We have close to 600 hotels over 58 countries. And obviously, Saudi is a massive priority for our growth. And about the question about luxury and sustainability, they are compatible or not, I'm personally very passionate about sustainability. And maybe the best way is to start by, at least from my side, explain what sustainability means to us in Minor. And it's quite simple. It's the balance of three very important aspects. Number one is definitely the planet. Sustainability is very much focused on protecting the environment. It's definitely about the people around it, so about the communities, about the heritage that a country has to offer. And then lastly, and not least, because we're here to make business, is about the profit. Because without profit, there is no sustainable development. That's the reality. It will not be long-lasting. And is sustainability and luxury compatible? Yes, 100%. Because luxury is not anymore about just opulence, marble flooring, golden chandeliers, but it's more about creating these genuine experiences that will allow people to reconnect with whatever is really meaningful for them. And I think that balance is very compatible between luxury and sustainability.
And that there are two lovely words I'd like to pick up on there. So I think Anna mentioned authenticity, we mentioned heritage. In a conversation I was having with Anna ahead of the conference, she suggested that luxury does not need to be all about opulence, bling and glass towers.
Exactly.
So as we look east, that's not necessarily the only model of luxury. So Saudi Arabia has an opportunity to establish a different type of sustainable luxury.
Yes, exactly.
How do you see that? What do you think Saudi luxury could be?
Yes, well, we discussed this even in our interview, Richard, and we did a comparison with Dubai because Dubai is all about bling and flashy and so on. And
I wasn't going to mention Dubai by name, but okay.
but Saudi is quite different because in Saudi is much more about tradition. It's about culture. It's also about the religious aspect, the Islamic culture. There's also an aspect linked to the monumental wealth that has to do with the fact that Saudi is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and the state has had a fundamental role in the development of these mega projects. So let's say the way that Saudi showcases this luxury is much more understated. So it comes through in these mega projects, in the development of natural infrastructures. And it's also linked to the transformative vision of the country. So this luxury is also comes across in things like Vision 2030 and all the mega projects that are being developed that will have a fundamental role in taking that across.
Hisham, I know you've got our habitat in Alula. Would you like to talk a little bit about that and from your perspective?
Absolutely, and I think Habitat Al Ula is really an extension of the point Anna was making. Vision 2030 made sustainability non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So I think that's something very important. It's not nice to have, it is mandatory. So all mega projects, have to integrate sustainability throughout the design, development, all the way to operation. And there are many examples, Al Ula being one, in the sense that it's a combination of a destination that is eco-friendly, focused on cultural preservation, but also aspirational and lifestyle. But you have other examples that are pushing the boundaries of regenerative tourism, like Red Sea Global, but Diriyah also is something that is exceptional. You have a whole master plan that is certified LEED Platinum, something that's never been seen before at that scale. So sustainability in the current Vision 2030 era is doing good because it is something that is imposed from the top and is being delivered in a beautiful way, different kind of setups, combined with heritage, combined with island and coastal projects. So we will see some very good examples coming in the next years to come.
Yeah, and the variety of Saudi's landscapes, topography, gives you the chance to differentiate between one development and another. And you touch on LEED Platinum, LEED Gold, construction standards. Omar, in terms of sustainability, luxury sustainability starts with construction, but that's not the end of it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question, because sustainability really starts from the first phone call we have with a developer at the end of the day. It's like we had to really have a genuine intent. If we really want to have a sustainable development and an operation, it needs to start from the beginning. And what I always try to tell a developer is like, we're not going to tell the site what we're going to do to make it sustainable. It's pretty much the other way around. We have to look at the site and see how can we develop a property within this site that is going to allow us to implement the sustainability, right? And yes, LEED certification and BREEAM and all these things are certainly very good for benchmarking, but at the end of the day, is that balance between purpose and profit that we need to be very, very, very focused on. And then once the property is open, the story doesn't finish there. In reality, it's the starting there, because a lot of the sustainability goes with waste. It goes with how the way that we're going to run the property, the standards that we're going to be delivering, and then how we're going to be able to connect with our guests, our customers, our owners, and our clients in general, in order to be able to deliver that sustainability. So I think it's a full cycle that starts from the first call.
And that's a wonderful segue. So I'd wanted to bring in the guest experience at this stage. So how are we going to take the guest on this journey? And how do you, I suppose, educate the guest as to what sustainable luxury looks like and might actually differ from their expectations of pure and adulterated luxury? Any thoughts? Anyone want to pick up on that?
Well, for me, I think the experience has to start even before the guest arrives at its destination. He needs to be started on a journey When he looks at the website, a story starts to be told and he's brought into this magical experience that then, of course, he's taken through when he arrives at his destination. And for example, me, from a design point of view, sustainability has a lot, it's something that works together and needs to be seamlessly stitched into the experience. Again, we don't want to teach lessons to our guests, right?
Yeah.
We want them to discover things. So again, it can be a special piece that is inside the rooms, that has a story to it or is linked to, a legend or something like that. Or it's through a conversation held with the staff at the destination. Because again, staff education is also quite important because they become ambassadors of this experience. And then I think it's also when the guest leaves, there's also something to be done there, a sort of to chase. So how was the experience, to get feedback? So it's a sort of a holistic view on the experience.
And Hisham, storytelling.
Storytelling is everything because guests will connect the most with stories.
Yeah.
That's what they take away with them after they left your property. So storytelling is fundamental. And I agree with Anna. I think it's important that sustainability should not be looked at as a moral stance, but it has something that you believe in and that you implement, and it has to be delivered in a subtle way. But in the end, we are in the business of providing emotions, creating memorable moments for guests, and for that, it has to be more than a LEED certification or a moral stance of what is. It has to be layered with culture, it has to be layered with design, and always put the guest first, experience first, because that's what would make people want to share that experience with their family and their peers, and this is what would make guests come back to your property. So storytelling is everything, and the same way there is a risk of green washing, there is a risk also of forced stories. So the story you're telling has to be authentic, has to be genuine,
exactly.
to your place, should not be forced. So design, experience, guest centricity, I think are key.
No, lovely. And I suppose this helps Saudi Arabia tell a different story, sell a different product to the international tourism market.
Absolutely.
So it's all about layering in culture and heritage, the story, and then marketing that internationally. How important are the staff to this? A facile question, I suppose, but in terms of staff engagement, in terms of telling a story, in terms of binding in the guest into an experience, staff training. Who would like to?
I can try to answer that one. I think obviously staff is the most important thing because one is we're in a people's industry, and they are the ones that are going to be responsible to delivering that luxury and sustainability promise that we're making to our customers, right? So at Minor, for example, our global vice president of sustainability reports directly to our chairman. Doesn't report to our marketing department or our sales department. It reports to the chairman because we're deeply committed to do that. And the same thing we're doing within the properties. We're creating a structure where there is a sustainability department that will be in charge of overseeing all the sustainability initiatives that go within the properties. Call it, energy control, waste management, plastic, emissions, etc., etc. And then how we layer that training and then accountability within every department is very important. So that will go through, KPIs, etc., where people are motivated to truly deliver that sustainability promise. So I think that genuine engagement is crucial for us to be able to be successful.
Wonderful. Anna, did you have anything to add to that, or?
Yes, I think one very important thing in the stitching of all of this, I talked about, and Omar just mentioned the staff training, but I think even things like promoting special experiences or visits to certain places, going a little bit beyond the destination or the resort itself, that needs to be promoted. Or Because luxury is, I think, no longer so much about a 5-course French dinner, but it's more about farm to table, right? It's about knowing the chef who cooked your meal or where that fish comes from. So again, all of those things will sort of embed the story and create a much stronger...
Yeah, and certainly from my perspective, that's emphasizing the social pillar of ESG and sort of, say, local sourcing, engagement with the community, local employment. You don't want people to fly in within a bubble and fly out again. You kind of want them to engage with what Saudi Arabia is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hisham?
Absolutely. It's the full 3 letters, as you mentioned, Richard. And I think the staff, to come back to that question, are really the junction between the guest, the property, and the surrounding. If you take the example of Al-Ula, we take pride of employing people from the neighborhood, and even when we don't employ, we make sure that we train people and educate them to the hospitality business. Staff is also very important in telling the story, because they are the interface with the guest. It all starts with a smile. It all starts with a conversation. So staff is fundamental. Empower local staff, amplify your story, and they are a fundamental, and even opening up to the neighborhood, because we found, for example, in Al-Ula and other projects, interesting discussions where the staff will open up the door to their own family in the surroundings, so it will create really interaction outside the hotel. So it's a holistic approach. It's a human nature, and not only dogmatic norms or things like that. It has to go beyond that.
Well, that small action,
dogmatic norms or things like that. It has to go beyond that.
Well, that small action, that small act of kindness, that small act of thoughtfulness that staff can demonstrate, that can make the difference to somebody's stay and their experience. We would also say that, I suppose the data. I'm a data geek, I'm afraid, so I've made that public now. If you don't measure it, you can't control it. So we are strong believers that you need to measure sustainability data in order to improve and take measures over time. How do you go about measuring that data? Omar?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the most crucial aspects of truly delivering sustainability within hotels, is being able to benchmark and collect the data so you know exactly where you stand, first internally within your organization, and then externally with some peers, just to see we're all moving into the right direction. Because at the end of the day, sustainability, in our opinion, is no longer a unique selling point. It's something that you need to do. It's the right thing to do, and the future generations will just not tolerate some of the stuff that maybe we tolerated when we were growing up, just because we didn't have the awareness that we have today, right? So yes, having the right technology to be able to collect the data, having the right departments and the right commitment, really from the general manager all the way down, is extremely important. Otherwise, it's not meaningful. That's the reality.
Any other?
Yeah, I think it starts with having the right metrics to start with. At Inismo, we focus on 5 more main pillars. We focus on plastic, we focus on water and carbon, on food sustainability, eco-label, something that we monitor very closely, and the last one is social. So it's important to set your metrics right. We track them on a regular basis. Technology and data is extremely important, especially if you want to take sustainability at scale, and that's the challenge. I think having it at a micro level is somehow achievable, but when you want to extend it to scale, so we use different platforms. I know that you are in that space too, and we like what you are doing. Software and data are 2 important subjects for us, because the quality of information in a timely manner, especially if you are doing things at scale, is extremely important.
Anna, anything to add on that? Or?
Well, me being a designer, so I've all the projects that I've worked on, together with, let's say, the more technical side of the team, We try to put in place systems that can be easily measured and so on. But I think there is also something quite important in the terms of green architecture and the development of a building that has to do with more passive measures that we can have in place. And they start from scratch. It's like from the first line that you put on a paper. You know, it's things like the footprint of the building, the orientation of the building, the composition of the walls, regardless of how much AC you put in it, you know, the building needs to be solid and it needs to reply and give a correct answer to all of that. And then you can have the systems on top. And then, of course, come all these measuring devices that will help us control and see how the building is doing throughout time. And that's, of course, fundamental.
So the message I think we're getting from the panel is very much that, you know, sustainability, sustainable luxury is here to stay. Saudi Arabia has a greenfield opportunity to really establish its own brand in the international market, and sustainability and luxury will go hand in hand to deliver a unique experience, telling a story, and being differentiated from the other product, you know, the other sort of tourism, hospitality offerings that are out there. So I think unless... Are there any questions from the audience? In which case, I will thank our panel. Omar, Anna, Hisham, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Thank you.